Let's jump into it because we're not going to have as much time as usual. I've got to take my son to school, so we're not going to have the full time probably for Q&A and everything. I had a chavrusa this morning, and I just had to prioritize that over the regular time for meeting. I hope everybody can understand. But that's that's life. Okay, so first of all, obviously the big news. Before we get to the big news about the hospital, I want to just talk about some good news. Good news is that the head of U.S. Central Command, a general, wrote down his name, Kurilla, came yesterday on a surprise visit. That speaks to a lot of cooperation between the United States military and the Israeli military. Obviously, we're not going to know the nature of that cooperation and what they're discussing, but the fact that the U.S. Central Command general shows up in Israel is speaking to a high level of coordination and cooperation together. As much as modern technology enables communication over Zoom and secure links, still nothing beats face-to-face meetings. So when you see American and Israeli military leaders getting together, that's a very big thing. Does that speak to a coordinated attack between the United States military and Israel? Does it speak to more intelligence cooperation where America is sharing their intelligence with Israel? Is it Israel updating the United States of America's military? I don't know. We're not going to know that, but that's a very positive thing. Another positive thing is no announcements of Israelis killed yesterday. I can't tell you how important this is, that we go a number of days without anybody being killed. It's incredibly important, especially after the tragedy that we had. And it definitely brings up the spirits, and sometimes we don't think about it enough, but that's a very, very important thing. And of course, the President of the United States will be landing probably any minute now. I'm looking out my window because I imagine that the Air Force One is not going to fly over the normal route, like land in Tel Aviv, coming over the Mediterranean. I don't know, I'm not a strategist, but I think that's where the rockets are flying. So I would imagine that's not what they're going to do, but rather they'll fly around, maybe south of Israel, through Egypt, and then come up through the east, in which case they fly over my house. And there's nothing I would like better than a picture of Air Force One over my home. Peace and the end of the war, probably I'd want a little more, but that would be a pretty cool picture to take, and hoping that Air Force One flies over. We don't get that many planes coming over Mitzvah Yericho. It's only planes that fly down to Eilat or are going sometimes like to India. They'll take this route. So if there's a plane in the air and it's a fairly large plane and it's coming down low, that'll be Air Force One. They're going to have to do a lot of cool maneuvers to get this plane down on the ground without it being subject to rocket fire. Along with the president's visit, though, which is a sign of great friendship and great support, and something that we Israelis are absolutely grateful for. Along with it, though, comes last night's hospital strike, which was, without a doubt, I want to make sure everybody's clear about this. Without a doubt, this was a rocket fired by Palestinians. I don't know if it's Palestinians Hamas, I don't know if it's Palestinians Islamic Jihad, I don't know which Palestinians it is, but Palestinians fire rockets that are notoriously incapable of hitting their targets because they're very low technology. So when you have something that's incredibly low technology, so what you're going to end up having is you're going to have mistakes, because that's what happens with bad technology. You can't aim, and so anywhere between 20 and 50% of the rockets, depending on which reports you take from that are launched by Palestinians in Gaza, never make it out of Gaza. They land in Gaza, and that contributes to a lot of Palestinian deaths are hit by their own rockets. It's not like the Palestinian terrorists care. The people launching the rockets, that's not a concern of theirs. So therefore, they have no problem firing a rocket that they know is going to be inaccurate and could fall short, and firing it directly over a hospital. That's not a problem to them. It doesn't matter, because if the hospital blows up, okay, so it's worth it. It's part of the war effort. And by all intelligence reports by the IDF, this is exactly what happened. Whether or not the world will accept this, or they'll just go, there's two sides to the story and we can't tell, which is correct. For the rest of the day, I don't know. You saw the New York Times somewhat backtrack. They went from Israeli strike hits it to the hospital blew up in a strike. They're not blaming it on the Palestinians. It's very easy to blame it on Israel, but to then go ahead, you need tremendous proof to blame it on the terrorists. It's like unreal. Israel doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt, but terrorists do. It's like the world that we're living in is crazy. And I usually don't like decrying hypocrisy because I think that that's a cheap shot on people because everybody's hypocritical, but this is like beyond. Okay. With the hospital visit comes the ultimate chutzpah, I think, on the part of the Arab nations, which is to cancel a meeting with the President of the United States. This is the world leader. You don't cancel a meeting with the President of the United States. I guess it's the ultimate chutzpah. Jordan, my neighbor here to the east, Jordan, its entire GDP is dependent on American aid. If there was no American aid to Jordan and no military protection of Jordan, there would not be a Jordan. Jordan is the king of Jordan, King Abdullah II, is supported by almost 5% of his population. So, and 75% is Palestinian. If it wasn't for America's help, and it's frankly Israel's help, the king would not be in power anymore. It would be a Palestinian state. So it's or run over by ISIS years ago. So for the king of Jordan to cancel a meeting with the President of the United States, and there has to be repercussions to this. President Biden must take punitive action, canceling it. And Mahmoud Abbas, like chief anti-Semite of the world, for him to cancel a meeting with the president when his entire legitimacy stems from the United States of America, America has to take action against this for canceling this meeting that they had. So I don't know. A little on a scarier note, 28 cities in the north were evacuated. That's not good. That's in the north of Israel. We're evacuated down south. That means that Israel, and there's no greater sign that Israel is expecting a massive attack from Hezbollah, that they're not expecting Hezbollah to stay in. You don't evacuate towns as a safety precaution. Evacuating towns is a big step. It's demoralizing to the country. It's demoralizing to the north. It risks a lot of danger within the evacuation itself. It's a big move, and it speaks to me more than anything else that I've seen that Hezbollah is going to attack, that Israel's fully expecting that to happen, and that those towns are no longer safe to be in, and that's not a good thing. Israel seems to be getting ready for an entire regional war, meaning that this thing could expand and blow up faster than we imagined it before. I think that we all got into this thinking that this is going to be a war against Palestinian terrorists inside Gaza, whether there be Hamas or the other 5 groups, and that we're going to completely restructure how Gaza operates by eliminating those that are running Gaza today. And now it seems like that's not going to be the case. That it's going to be that the war is going to expand. That Israel's thinking that the war is going to expand and assuming that the war is going to expand a lot more. So that's not necessarily a very good thing. And that the more the war expands, yes, it gives Israel the opportunity to clean house from a lot of bad guys in the region, but it also will lead to more Israeli deaths. So that's a really not good thing. And Israel has been hitting Hezbollah targets. I know it seems like slap back and forth, but just understand that when Hezbollah launches a missile at Israel or a rocket at Israel, it might or might not cause damage. When Israel hits a Hezbollah target, it definitively causes damage and weakens Hezbollah. So if Hezbollah fires a rocket at us or flies a drone over us and we hit back, so we're hitting back successfully. We're weakening them. Might not be a complete weakening, but we are weakening them. So just to understand that the tit for tat that we're going on with Hezbollah, which doesn't seem to be escalating too much, is actually weakening Hezbollah a lot. Where we could be taking out Hezbollah's elite fighters, we'll be taking out Hezbollah's missiles. We'll be weakening their efforts if they ever do decide to step up and get into this war. Okay, I've got about 10 minutes left. I'll open up for questions now. If you have questions, so please put them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So if anybody has questions, now's the time to put them in. Okay, maybe no one has questions. I ran through the briefing to make sure that I had time for questions, and okay, very good.
Uri, I can't see the chat. I don't know where the option is. I don't know. I feel like I'm.
Okay, so why don't you just ask? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask. So one of the things that I keep seeing on Twitter about the hospital is that, like, the size of the explosion, they keep saying it wouldn't have been possible with a Hamas or an Islamic Jihad rocket, blah blah blah. I just have no frame of reference for like whether that's true or if there are munitions that they're saying are under the hospital.
So if you keep in mind, everyone today, like we all became COVID experts and we all became war experts. Today, everybody will become explosives experts and talk about size of explosions and the following. Keep in mind, number one, Hamas keeps explosives in a hospital. Number two, there is clear and evident proof through video, through conversations that this was a strike by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. You could see the rocket in the video, like hitting it. That's number one. Number two, there are conversations that Israel's picked up. I think they're going to release them today. They've got to validate them and then translate them and then put them out where they're talking about their own failure, how they just hit their own hospital. So you could just look. There's not going to be sufficient amount of proof ever that this wasn't Israel to those that want Israel to be guilty, and there will never be sufficient amount of proof for either side. The world is a biased place and the news is biased, so we're never going to be able to have complete and total proof. But if you're an open-minded person and you're rational and look at the evidence that's being presented, you'll see that it's. Also keep in mind, Israel has hit horrible places before. Israel's hit hospitals before. They've hit UN buildings before, and we've killed lots of innocent people accidentally, and we always own up to it right away. There's never been an Israeli cover-up after a hit. So if we had done this, we would say we did it. We're sorry. We'll take the consequences of it. Israel would admit it. They wouldn't come out right away and say that it wasn't them. So that's just not Israel's way of doing things, because we're a democracy, and it'll eventually come out that it was us. So there'd be no point in hitting it. Okay. Victoria asks, is there any unrest nearby? Yeah, by me, the last night in Jericho was tremendous rioting. You won't see any of this stuff in the news, by the way. Hebron, like the videos came out because there's Jews that live in Hebron, but you're not gonna, like, it's seen, like, everybody thinks like the Judea and Samaria, the West Bank is like this white, like quiet paradise where, like, no, it's just not making the news. There's like people that want to kill us. We're all getting ready for the invasion. I think I'm gonna write something up about it today because people have this like impression that everything's fine out here. We're all just ready. Like I'll show you. Like we're all sitting here ready for the coming invasion. Most times I'm not more than a couple of feet away from my gun because we expect it to happen. Last night, terrifying thing, the electricity went down. Happens about 5 or 6 times a year in Mitzvah Yericho, but there was like the entire region, and it was a fault of the electric company. But like that was like terrifying. I mean, I stood at my front door with the gun ready to shoot the next person that came through. It happened to be my wife, but and I didn't shoot her. But that's like that's what's been going on here. Okay, a Hamas leader mentioned a hostage release for stopping IDF bombings. Yeah, no. The goal is not to get the hostages back. The goal is to end Hamas. We want to get the hostages back, but like this notion that all Hamas has to do is is release the hostages and then the bombing will stop. No, Hamas is dead. We're going to kill them all. We're going to kill them all, and hopefully get the hostages back. Those are two separate goals. We're not gonna. There's no ceasefire. There's no de-escalation. No, we're going for this. We're going to destroy our enemies. How strong are the Palestinian and other groups compared to Hamas? They're not as strong. They're not as big, but they're more ruthless. Hamas has to take more things into account because they have to exist the next day. Their leadership wants to remain alive. I don't think it's going to happen, but they want to remain alive. Palestinian Islamic Jihad doesn't take these things into consideration. They have no internal ambitions for anything. They just want to kill Jews. How to ensure a void will not be left with Hamas or bad actors take up like there's no way. When we destroy whoever's ruling in Gaza, it's going to leave a vacuum. I don't know who's going to fill that. I don't know if anybody knows that. I think that one of the goals of the Biden visit is to ask the Israelis, okay, what are you guys going to do tomorrow? Like, what's going to happen after you win this? What do you see happening? And I don't know what the answer to that question is. I don't know. Like, it's not that obviously I don't. Bibi Netanyahu doesn't call me and tell me his plans, but more than I don't know what the options are for the next day. Like, I haven't seen any viable options for the next day. Israel's not going to reoccupy Gaza Strip and run it. It'll be the worst move ever. And the Israeli public won't allow for that. So I don't know what happens the next day. Why did the Israeli government send out a level 4 warning for Israeli citizens in Turkey? Is it due to Hamas's call for a day of rage? I don't know exactly why, but the Mossad gets a lot of hits. Turkey's an Islamic country, and you got a lot of fundamental Muslims there. It's very easy for Muslims to go in there. Turkey's a massive country, so if they get intelligence chatter that people are planning something, so then they warn Israelis to get out of there. I don't know if you remember. I think it was only maybe a year ago. I don't think it's much more than that. When Israelis were like saved at the very last minute, like the assassin was down the block, ready to take out an Israeli, and the Mossad like threw the guy into a waiting van and got him out of the country. I don't know if you remember that, but like Turkey is not full of friends of Israel. Why does it seem like no government, France, U.S. president cares about the hostages? America, I can't talk about France, Brazil, Thailand at all. But the United States cares deeply about it, and they're working very hard behind the scenes on the hostages, especially their own hostages, but really all hostages. So people are concerned. I think that people don't want, this would be my guess as to the strategy, people don't want to put too much attention on the hostages so as not to give Hamas the idea that they're worth so much that Hamas can get something for them. I got to imagine that's the strategy, plus the secret stuff going on behind the scenes that America's not going to announce. President Biden, if you hear him speak, he always alludes to what's going on and how much is happening behind the scenes. And he says, obviously, I can't discuss it with you because that would make sure it didn't happen. Okay, why is reoccupying Gaza not a good option? Because we would be taking over between 1.5 to 2 million Palestinians who are incredibly hostile to us, and we would be putting our soldiers around them. So all our soldiers would be essentially wearing a target on their backs, and the gain would be minimal, if anything. We don't need that land. That land is not for us. So if you could tell me, we would take it over, and then voluntarily, without any ethnic cleansing or anything else, all the Arabs in the country would slowly move out into Egypt. That might be a good option. That's not going to happen. So we're going to be taking over a country where just terrorists would be, aiming at us at all times. How am I doing? It's a great question, Shlomo. Thank you. I am not doing well. No one here is doing well. No one. You might call your friend and say, "How you doing?" They say, "Okay, I'm doing okay." It's not true. No one's doing well. We're just not doing well. We're not. It's impossible to do well when people want to kill you, and when you have a lot of your, okay, I'll lose it if I keep going. So I'm not going to. We're not doing well. We need to end this thing. We need to end the people that want to kill us, and we need to move on from this. And we need to get hostages back, and we need to bring justice to our region, and then peace to the region, and then bring our people home. I'm going to end here. Things are looking up. Okay? I know that things are bad. The President of the United States, the world leader, is landing in Israel after we've been attacked. For all the anti-Semitism in the world, that speaks volumes as to what is happening in the world today and the status of the Jewish nation and how great we are. Okay, have a very good day, everybody.